coach based here in Nairobi, with the pleasure of speaking with Precious Williams, who is joining us from the UK for the Story Moja Hay Festival, where she's led a range of sessions and workshops with participants here. We've just emerged from really quite a remarkable discussion with Precious and Lem Sise on growing up different and writing about it. Precious, if I may ask you a question about your takeaways from that last hour we spent with that audience, where we took such remarkable questions from the group, and it was really quite an uplifting experience, I think, for many people. What has stood out for you in that conversation today?
I think in that conversation, I found it incredibly moving, almost feel dazed coming out of it. And one question that I really liked from somebody in the audience was, I think she sort of said how happy she was to have us here, like as in me and Lem, but all of us writers here international. And she asked us whether Africa disappointed us, which of course it doesn't. But I just thought that was a beautiful question, because I think there is this real connection at the festival of many, many writers from the African diaspora, so who are based in the US or England or wherever, or different countries within Africa, all coming here to congregate and share their own stories. I think that is a really beautiful thing in itself. And that sort of came across in the panel we just did. I think the sense of unity and shared experiences.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's actually one of the themes that we opened with, was how, the theme of the session was growing up different, and yet there's an opportunity to bring people together. And so, I mean, thinking of that, what stood out for you in terms of the future opportunities for yourself and other writers who write about differences and growing up different? What are the opportunities to bring people together through that writing?
I don't know about specific opportunities, but sort of a lot of the panels and workshops I've attended or sort of led here have been about, everyone here, or nearly everyone here, seems to be a writer, either published or an aspiring writer. So everyone's got a story, and people are sort of being much more proactive about getting their stories published. They're not being shy about it. They're sort of saying, can you get me a publisher? How do I get an agent? Should I e-publish? Or, and I think that's great, because there'll just sort of be more and more stories out there. So it's almost like everyone has a voice that people will have an opportunity to hear. So I think that's things like that. So sort of people who haven't been published yet, who are just beginning as writers, getting to meet writers who are already published, and getting to think this is totally possible for me. And I really do believe there'll be several people who, after having attended this festival, will become much more proactive and be published.
Speaking of that, the first session that we ran was on Thursday with young people, teens of about, I think, 15 to 17 years old. And the topic of that was getting started as a writer, and really, how do you write the first sentence? What do you pick what you write about? When you reflect back on that session, what stood out for you as the key theme that people were talking about? What do you think they took away from that?
What did they take away from that session? I mean, a lot of the questions that the young people asked were sort of a very practical nature, sort of, the sort of nuts and bolts of writing and how do you do it. And I think, I noticed at least two of them sort of, that you just knew that they were going to go home, maybe at the end of this festival and put pen to paper and start doing it. A couple of people came up to me at the end of that workshop and asked for my email address so they could email me their work, and I could tell them what I thought of it. And I usually don't volunteer to do that because it gets out of control, but I really will do that, because there's just such a lovely energy of just sort of feeling these people are really, they're not just sitting here listening to us and that's that. They're actually like trying to find out how to do what we do, and they're going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Let's think about the festival overall. I mean, it's the first time you've participated in the Story Moja Hay Festival here in Nairobi. It's been probably a long 4 days, an engaging 4 days maybe, but what has been your key takeaway from the festival?
Well, I actually just wrote a little blog I think it's for the Hay Festival website, about my experiences of being here, and I had written in that blog that the two words that came to mind describing this festival were authenticity and accessibility. So it's completely different to any kind of literary event I've ever been to in the Western world. There's no pretentiousness at all. There's none of that sort of atmosphere that can sometimes be there of, oh, we're all so clever, and, there's none of that. It's really real. People are unafraid of asking questions. And one thing I love people who are unafraid of asking questions where they might even look stupid. Everyone's not trying to be clever. So that's the sort of flavor I've got of it. And, writers at sort of the level of Yung Chang, just sort of, sitting there chilling in a lounge and just being completely accessible to everybody. So it's just and also I was really surprised in a very pleasant way by the sort of the enthusiasm the children especially have for literature. I'm not really sure I've seen that in England in a long time. I mean, they're literally like, so excited about meeting authors, and they're buying up the books in a matter of minutes. Our books, I think, kept selling out, and that was lovely because I'd heard people saying things about Kenyans not reading, and that's certainly not the impression I've got from being here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Coming back to the session that we've just come out of, the Growing Up Different discussion, Lem put something on the table that we didn't have a chance to fully explore during the time that we had available. But he said that secrets cultivate differences, that keeping things secret exacerbate and create differences. What are your thoughts on that? Because I was curious where that conversation might have gone if we'd had a chance to discuss it.
I think he's completely right, and I mean, there's such an enormous power in telling our stories. That's something that's come up sort of again and again over the past 4 days with different writers sort of saying how important it is for all of us to tell our stories. And I think things that we're afraid of, or things that seem really dark or taboo, I think we've realized they're not as powerful as we thought once we just simply voice them. But I think as a society, certainly in the Western world, we're not really encouraged to tell our true stories. I think it's almost like we wear a mask and we tell ourselves certain stories that aren't necessarily true. So I think, sorry, can we go back to the question again?
No, you're going along the right direction there. The question is, how do secrets exacerbate or create differences rather than open up opportunities for unity, or maybe show that we're not quite so different sometimes?
Because I think we're all so very similar wherever we live on the earth, whatever ethnicity we are, whatever race, age, whatever. We're so similar, and it's only when we sort of take off that mask and tell our secrets, you realize that this secret you thought might make people, I don't know, hate you or pity you or fear you or whatever it is they might even tell you, oh, the same thing happened to me, or something similar, or something worse. So there's something sort of just very powerful about sort of just opening up and telling these things. I mean, even here, I'm trying to think of an example, but different people have told me, I mean, really, I don't know why this whole environment has brought out really sort of authentic and deep communication, but people have told me things, secrets, where I've thought, wow, I'm not the only person who had a dysfunctional start in life or a dysfunctional family. And it's certainly the effect it's had on me when these people have told me their secrets is I've just had more admiration from them and just felt amazingly close to them. And I don't think I'd be alone in having that sort of reaction. I think that's how people respond.
Okay. Thank you. Last and final question, actually. The Precious Williams of 5 days ago, before you'd arrived here in Nairobi, and the Precious Williams of today, what is different?
Well, I'm actually 5 days older. No, I think that the sort of personal lessons I've learned, this is like an ongoing thing for me, but it's all about just trust. I'm a person who always has to be in control of everything. I have to know what I'm doing, when and how, and that's really from the sort of childhood I had where it was all about survival. And I think being here, I mean, even just like flying into Nairobi, I'm not entirely sure where I'm staying. I certainly don't know the person I'm staying with or what sort of setup it might be. And for me, I mean, a lot of people be like, brilliant, great. But for me, it was just like, And then I remember sort of the day I got here, someone said, expect the unexpected. And I laughed, and that's funny. But another part of me was just like almost fainting, like, oh my God. And I had to sort of let go of a lot of the need to control everything. I mean, several times I consciously was like, who knows what's going to happen, and that'll be fine. I'll be supported. I mean, even little things like my books, which were being shipped from England, hadn't shown up in the bookshop, and I was sort of going, oh, but my books must be here, and they sent them, and I've got to call this person. And I thought, I can't call this person because my English phone doesn't work here, and I've got no internet, so I can't email them. I'll have to chill out, won't I? And then like a few hours later, some young people came up to me and said, can you sign your book? So clearly my book had appeared. So it was all very much like that.
Okay, well, those have been some great responses, and it's just been a pleasure throughout these past 4 days having a chance to interview you or work with you in the workshops.
And thank you very much for your support and for your participation, for supporting what we're doing here.
Great, thank you, Precious.